Hello everyone! In today's reading lesson, we are going to read an article, The Wright Flyer. You should have read The Wright Flyer in your green book, pages 154 through 162, before watching this video. If you haven't, I want you to pause and read the story first before you come back to this video. So the story of The Wright Flyer is an article. Do you remember what an article is? Some of the articles that we read in class are A Volcano Erupts and Dogs at Work. The article A Volcano Erupts told us how Mount St. Helens erupted, and Dogs at Work taught us different jobs that dogs can have. So what is an article? An article is written to give information and to teach facts about something in real life. So when reading an article, we want to figure out the main information that the article is trying to teach us. In order to do that, we have to ask questions. Let's look at these question words. We're now going to go to our reading book, page 154. All right, what are question words? Question words help us look for important information when we read. They help us think of what an article is mostly about. That means in order for us to find and understand the main idea of the article, we have to use these question words such as who, what, where, and when to think what this article might be about. Such as who did what? When did they do it? Where did they do it? If you want to go deeper, you can also ask why did they do it? Or how did they do it? Does that sound familiar? Yes, those are our 5 W's. Let's go to the next page and look at this coin. What questions can we ask about this picture? Maybe you can ask, who is in the picture? What is that machine? What does first flight mean? Or where does the first flight take place? Or when does this event happen? So as we read this article, I want you to think, who is the article mostly about? And what is the most important thing that the men did? I want you to think of these questions, the 4 W's, or the 5 if you want to think of the Y as well. And let's begin reading. The Wright Brothers. Wilbur and Orville Wright were brothers who grew up in Ohio. They loved to learn and discover new things. They started a bicycle shop where they fixed bicycles and built new ones. They liked building things and were important in discovering how man could fly. So here we have in the first picture, Wilbur and Orville Wright. And here we have the Wright Brothers bicycle shop. So quick question. Who had the bicycle shop? Very good, Wilbur and Orville Wright, the Wright brothers. Then what did the Wright brothers fix in their shop? The bicycle. Very good. Let's move on to the next page. One day, Wilbur and Orville heard about a man named Otto Lilienthal. Otto built and flew gliders. His gliders had wings of different shapes and flew without power. Otto wrote down what he learned about flying. He died in a crash before he could test all that he had learned. The Wright brothers wanted to learn more about flying. They read everything they could find about it. They learned much from what Otto had written. So who built and flew the gliders? Was it the brothers? No, it was Otto Lilienthal. Then what did Otto do with all the information that he learned about flying? He wrote them down. Very good. But what happened to Otto before he could test all that he had learned about flying? He died in a crash. Uh-oh. Then what did the Wright brothers learn from Otto's writing? They learned information about flying. Wilbur and Orville built their own glider. They tested the glider at Kitty Hawk on the coast of North Carolina. The brothers flew the glider using strings to guide it. They tested their glider more than 1,000 times. They tested everything they had learned about flying. But it was hard to get the glider into the air and to guide it. So here we have Wilbur and Orville testing their glider at Kitty Hawk. So where did the brothers go to test their glider? The answer is at Kitty Hawk on the coast of North Carolina. Then what did the brothers use to guide the glider? They used strings. Then what was the problem with the glider? It was hard to get it into the air. Flying a glider was not enough for Wilbur and Orville. The glider could not fly very far, so they wanted to build a powered flying machine that could go farther. They will call it their flyer. All the engines that Wilbur and Orville looked at were too heavy. They needed a powerful engine. It also needed to be light enough for their flyer. The brothers studied many different engines. Then they worked long hours using the tools in their shop to build their own engine. So what did they build in their own shop? They built their own engine. So here we have the engine for Wright Flyer that was built in their bicycle shop. And here we have a diagram, so the picture that the brothers drew before building their powered flying machine. All right. So what did the brothers want to build after the glider? They wanted to build a powered flying machine. Then what did the brothers need to power the flying machine? They needed a powerful but a light engine. Then what was the problem with all the engines that they looked at? What was the problem? They were all too heavy. All right, let's move on. December 17, 1903. At last the day came for Wilbur and Orville to see if their machine would fly. It was a cold, cloudy day. Winds howled across a high, sandy hill at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Wilbur and Orville had used wood to build a long starting track. The track would help their flyer roll across the sand. When it was going fast enough, the flyer would lift off. The brothers and their helpers lifted the flyer onto the starting track. Then Orville lay in the center on the bottom wing. From there, he could guide the flyer. The engine started. Down the track, the flyer rolled. It lifted off and flew 120 feet before skidding to a stop in the sand. For the first time, a pilot had flown a powered flying machine. So here we have a picture of their starting track. And their flying machine took off and flew 120 feet. So who flew on the airplane on the first flight? Who was it? Orville. Then when did the brothers take the first flight? When is it? December 17, 1903. Very good. Then where in Kitty Hawk did the brothers start the plane? Where in the Kitty Hawk? On a high sandy hill. Very good. Let's move on. Wilbur and Orville took turns flying their machine. They made 4 flights that day. Each time the flyer went farther. On the last flight, Wilbur flew 852 feet. Wilbur and Orville were very excited. They had done it. They had built the first powered flying machine that had flown by a pilot. They had built an airplane. It was the number of years until Wilbur and Orville became well known. Only a few people had seen the brothers fly their machine. Many others did not believe that the brothers had really flown. 5 years after their first flight, the brothers started making public flights. They wanted people to see that their Wright Flyer really did fly. Then the brothers and their Wright Flyer became known around the world. So in this picture, we have a memorial at Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. Then who was honored at this memorial built in North Carolina? The Wright brothers. Very good. Then where was the memorial to the Wright brothers built? At Kill Devil Hills in North Carolina. Excellent. All right. Then let's go back to the questions we had before we began reading. Number 1. Who is the article mostly about? Who was it? The Wright brothers. Very good. Number 2. What important thing did the Wright brothers do? What did they do that was so important that made them very famous? They made and flew the first powered airplane. Then number 3, where did the first powered flight take place? Do you remember? It was on page 160 at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Very good. Then when did the first powered flight take place? The answer is on the same page. When was it? December 17, 1903. Excellent. Because you've asked and answered so many questions about this article, you should now be able to tell why the authors wrote it. So, what is the main idea? We already know the main idea is what the article is mostly about, and we asked the questions who, what, where, and when to help us find the main idea. Then which of these sentences gives the main idea of the Wright Flyer? Choice 1. Flying planes is fun. Choice 2. Cold windy days are best for flying planes. Choice 3. The Wright brothers were the first to fly a powered airplane. What's the answer? It's the third one. The Wright brothers were the first to fly a powered airplane. Very good. Now let's work on our work text. So you should be on page 245. And what you're going to do is you're going to follow these directions 1 through 5 to finish this picture of Wright brothers' first flight. And then after that, you're going to color this. So make it look pretty and colorful. So on the back page, we have antonyms. Do you remember what antonyms are? Antonyms are words that are opposite in meaning. For example, old and new are opposites, so we call them antonyms. Let's try the first one together. Circle the 2 antonyms on each rocket. So the first rocket, we have inside, sidestep, and the outside. Which 2 words do you think are antonyms? The correct answer is inside and outside. Yay! Sidestep just means you're stepping to the side. You can try the rest on your own. Part B, you're going to read the sentence and write the antonym for the underlined word. Let's try number 1 together. This weekend, we will hike a mountain trail. What is an antonym for the word mountain? Is it city, evening, night, or valley? The correct answer is valley. Very good. And the rest you can try on your own. The next 2 pages is going to be your open book quiz. So you're going to try this by yourself without asking your parents for any help. Tomorrow we're going to continue with the Write Flyer. We're going to go over the story one more time and review our vocabulary words. And we're also going to try a fun little activity together. So until next time, bye everyone!